Hey everybody, it came down to the wire, but William Nylander has re-signed with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Let's get right into it. The deadline was today at 5 p.m., and it literally came down to 5 p.m., but it's been announced. Darren Dreger was the first I saw announce it, then Elliot Friedman, and then Bob McKenzie came in after with more information. It's a 6-year deal for Nylander in Toronto with a base AAV of $6.9 million. However, because of the Leafs cap situation, it's a very complex contract, and what they basically have done is front-loaded it. So basically, Nylander's contract counts as $10.2 million on the AAV this year. So they front-loaded it for this year because Toronto is not in cap trouble this season. It's the problem is that they need to re-sign Matthews, Marner, Anderson, Riley, all coming up in the near future. So they're headed towards serious cap trouble. So basically, Nylander's contract is worth $6.9 million per year, but they're front-loaded it to make it worth $10.2 million this year, and then years 2 to 6. At least this is what I've got from the Maple Leafs Twitter account. Years 2 to 6 it's a $6.9 million AAV. So just under $7 million for Nylander. He's staying in Toronto long term, and this whole saga has finally come to an end. I didn't know what was going to happen. I thought if he was going to sign in Toronto that it would have been done long before deadline day like this, but that's not what happened. As the day went on today, it became clearer and clearer that a trade was not going to happen. So it came down to two options. It came down to Nylander either signs a deal with the Maple Leafs or he sits this season out. I don't think anyone involved wanted him sitting this season out. I don't think he wanted to. I don't think the Leafs wanted him to. That was worst case scenario. Best case scenario was Toronto signs him to a long-term deal, and that is exactly what happens. So 6 years, $6.9 million annual value for William Nylander. Pretty good contract. Obviously, plenty of money for him. Also, not so egregious that it's going to kill Toronto cap-wise, although they are still going to have some serious decisions to make as far as salary cap goes in the next year in going forward, because they have a lot of contracts up. They have a lot of young players on entry-level deals that are not going to be on entry-level deals anymore, and they're going to go from making, $800K or whatever they're making now to making millions and millions of dollars. So the Leafs still have a lot of decisions to make as far as their salary cap goes. And I'm just going to throw this out there. William Nylander signing for 6 years does not mean that he's going to be a Maple Leaf for 6 years necessarily. Now that he's signed, they could trade him. A team could trade him for him, and he's locked up long term. They could absolutely make a deal for him. So if Toronto says, we want to sign this guy and we don't have the money, they could end up trading Nylander and he's locked under contract long term, which makes him much more valuable and desirable on the trade market. If you were to trade him, on a 1 or 2 year deal, then he's just going to become a free agent again in a couple of years. But he's now locked in on a 6-year deal. So it is possible that he could still be traded, maybe not this season, but in the next couple of years. However, it's also very possible that he remains a Maple Leaf long term, and I think he is one of the guys that Toronto absolutely wants to remain a Maple Leaf long term. He has tremendous chemistry with Austin Matthews. They've shown that really, really well over the last couple of seasons. I think they want him playing with Austin Matthews. Having Nylander in the lineup makes an already extremely dangerous, offensively talented team like Toronto even more dangerous and talented. Toronto's been fantastic this year. They've been really, really good. They score a lot of goals. even though Austin Matthews missed significant time with injury, they're still, one of the best teams in the league, and Matthews is back now. And then you take that and you add William Nylander to it. This is a very, very dangerous team and a very, very good team. And now you have Matthews, you have Nylander back on his wing. You still have Patrick Marleau, you have John Tavares, you have Mitch Marner, you have Zach Hyman. I mean, you have Kasperi Kapanen. This is a loaded forward group in Toronto. How long they can all stay together and remain that loaded, that remains to be seen. But for right now and for the rest of this season, that is an absolutely loaded forward group. So this is a very, very good team in Toronto, and they just got even better. But really, when it comes down to it, this is all about William Nylander and the Maple Leafs and them getting a deal done. And it took every possible second that they had to do it, but they did it. So Nylander staying in Toronto long-term, 6-year deal, $6.9 million AAV. A lot of signing bonus money involved. I'm not going to go into the specifics of the contract, break it down too much, because I don't understand the legal side of it like that, more than any other fan would. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an agent, I'm not a GM, anything like that. But this is a very complicated contract. I believe the total was between 40 and 45 million. The AAV is 6.9. I believe it. Then I saw on Maple Leafs Twitter it was front loaded with 10.2 on for this year, and then 6.9 for years 2 through 6. And then also I believe it was 24.5 million of it is signing bonus money. It's just, there's bonuses, there's base salary, there's years worth, different amounts of money. It's a complicated contract because the Leafs are headed towards a very complicated salary cap situation. But they did what they had to do. They got Nylander back in to early enough for him to play this season. They got it done before the deadline so he can help their team this year, and he can help their team for the next 6 years going forward. So this is a massive contract for Nylander, and a good job all around of getting this deal done before the deadline. And honestly, I didn't know if it was going to happen as time went on and we got closer and closer. I wasn't sure if this was going to actually get done or not, but it did. So that's pretty much it. Nylander staying in Toronto, 6 years, $6.9 million per season. With that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media, check out offthewallhockey.com. All those links are down in the description below. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. If you'd like to further support Off the Wall Hockey, the link to our Patreon and our merchandise store are down in the description as well. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.